Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Red Devil here. It's been quite a while since I've done a normal video. Today I'm bringing you a review of Modern Warfare, the old format where I have some gameplay in the background. Now, as you'll notice, there is no game sound. That's because the clips that I recorded have party audio in them, and for the sake of not wanting to muddle up the audio here, I've actually turned off the game sound here. So in the old sense, it'd be, the same as just listening to me here, but hopefully we can get across everything that we need to. The reason why these videos have not been common is my headset that I used to record these videos broke. I got a new one, and I'm actually really impressed with the audio thus far. Hopefully this turns out good. But anyway, enough of that. We're going to talk about the game today. I got it on release day. I went with my boy Chase. We went to my very first midnight release ever. It was at like 10 o'clock or something like that, though. Can't blame him. Wouldn't want to stay that late either. And I have been steady playing this off and on since release. I have about 3 days played right now. I reached max level in season 0. I'm at level 123 on season 1. More on that later. And I know that nobody really cares about this, but this needs to be said. I thought that the single player was really good. I thought it told a very compelling story. I enjoyed the characters. A lot of them are reimagined characters from the original Modern Warfare game. Captain Price, obviously, probably being the most iconic. He's on the cover of the game and plays a major role in the story. All protagonists in this campaign are voiced. They're real characters that you control. And for me, it allowed me to get a lot more into the story, being actually able to play somebody instead of a faceless, voiceless, just 2 arms and a gun. And I did beat the campaign on veteran. I did not touch realism, which is a new hard difficulty that they added. From what I understand, it's just veteran but without the HUD. Speaking of no HUD, what you're seeing in the background here is some hardcore domination on Shoot House. More on that later. But the single player was a hit for me. It's worth being said that I think out of my admittedly small circle of friends, I was probably the one that enjoyed it the most. Jake, friend of the channel, quite a few of my videos, said it was his least favorite Call of Duty campaign ever. And I think he's played literally all of them. So take that for what you will. Of course, this is just one man's opinions, why it's called Red Devil Reviews. But I enjoyed it. Now, on to the meat and potatoes, what people actually give a fuck about when it comes to Call of Duty games. Now, I don't blame you. It's the multiplayer. And I've got a lot to say on this. Firstly, I'm just going to get my major gripe out of the way. These maps fucking blow, people. They suck. What you're seeing here on Shoot House, this one I don't mind as much. The maps that are really small, they added shipment recently. Shoot House here is a really big fan favorite. As a matter of fact, the community was so pissed when they recently took the Shoot House 24/7 playlist away that they actually added it back like days later. I mean, it was that bad. This is a common gripe that people have, that the maps suck ass, and when they added Shoot House, it's like, oh my god, fucking Jesus came down from the heavens and patched a decent map into the game. The gameplay that starts after this one is on a map called Gun Runner, I believe. One of my least favorite maps by far. And you'll see I don't do very good the next game. More on that later. But the maps sucking ass really takes away from the experience here, and I'll tell you why. The gunplay is awesome. You see me using the P90. the P90 is awesome. All the guns are awesome. There are some guns that were quite a bit far and away more awesome than others. The M4A1, for example, for the assault rifles. The 725, which looks like the Olympia, it's what I called it from Black Ops 1, is a double barrel shotgun. That shit was busted. They have, since as I'm recording this video, late December 2019, the M4 and 725 have both been nerfed. There's a certain attachment on that you can get for the Magnum in this game that makes it pretty cheese too. But I'm seeing that less and less. Hopefully they nerf that shit in a more convincing way soon, but there's no guarantee. More on that later. For me, playing against M4 sweats really killed my enjoyment in this game when I first started playing it. It was every lobby, everybody using M4, a lot of people using M4. Once again, my boy Chase, I love him. He's my brother. He uses the M4 every match. If I was playing against him, I put a controller through a wall. He he uses that gold M4. He camps. His major goal since release has been to get his own nuke, which is a 30 kill streak that you. It's not like Modern Warfare 2 where kill streaks lead into it. It's like the Moab from Modern Warfare 3 if you're old enough to have played that one. It has to be all gun kills, so he's been camping his patootie off trying to get that nuke. And I think that's the way that a lot of people play, is they camp for kill streaks. Because in this game, if you've played the older CODs, you know they've bounced around a lot with how you're rewarded for what you do. Modern Warfare 2, which is where I started, it was all about the kills. Call of Duty 4, where a lot of people started, all about the kills. In World at War, all about the kills. Except, actually, if I remember correctly, doing certain objectives contributed towards the team scores, towards winning. Like Team Deathmatch, I remember if you killed a dog, it counted towards you winning sooner, which was odd to me at the time. Still is, really. That's probably why they never done it again. But in more recent editions of Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, Black Ops 3, Black Ops 2, you had score streaks where everything you did contributed towards getting the, for lack of a better term, the kill streaks is what I've always called them, even when they weren't kill streaks. I'm talking about your UAV, your care package, your gunship, helicopters, whatever. And I really enjoyed that system because it rewarded people playing the objective. Point streaks in Modern Warfare 3, which they did one time, and then actually, you know what? I think they brought that back in Call of Duty Ghost. Call of Duty Ghost, I mean, that is what it is. We're talking about Modern Warfare. But in point streaks, you got points for certain actions. It's very similar to score streaks, and that playing objectives, destroying equipment, stuff like that would ultimately reward you and help you get those cool rewards, which is, let's face it, one of the main attractions of Call of Duty, is getting these mega fucking destroyer gunships. When you call in an AC-130 and clap the whole team up, that shit is a blast. So I don't blame people for wanting to get them. What I do blame people for, and my friends can tell you, as I have screamed and cursed and wished death and illness on, is people that camp for them, and that's, once again, ties into the maps in this game. There's a lot of windows, long lines of sight, and the addition of doors add an extra measure of protection for campers, in my opinion. They're riddled all over the maps. The way that spawns can be abused, which also ties into the shitty map balance. That's one of the reasons why the maps are so bad, is because the spawns are so horrible. They brought back Vacant from which was a map in Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2. And it seems like that map is so much worse with spawns. Because if you've played it, you'd know this. But there's like a little shack off to the side, and it seems like regardless of what you do, you get spawned behind this little shack, which is a corner that can easily be spawn trapped. Normally, you used to spawn, like if you had the outside spawn, you would spawn either to the side of the building, the other side of the building that is, which is, you know, a little bit more open, or near the crates, which is at the back of the map. I mean, usually it would be one team spawns on one side and one team spawns on the other, and that's no longer the case, which is fucked, in my opinion. Vacant, which was one of my favorite maps to play, used to be. I dread it showing up now because the spawns are so bad that it leads to unfun games. Which is the overall theme for Modern Warfare. It is dragged down by flaws such as shitty map design, shitty spawns as a part of that map design. You know, and all the guns are good in this game, which they said they wanted that to be the case. They didn't want there to be, you know, a bunch of shitty guns and then one great gun. They wanted all the guns to be fun and competitive, to where you could bring any gun, and, you know, if you had the skill, you could do well. And that is true. But unfortunately, there were still guns that outshone the others that are used kind of like a crutch. The MP5 is really good. I wouldn't say that's overpowered. But the M4 was definitely pushing it. The Olympia 725 was overpowered. The 357 with the attachment that turns it into a little shotgun, that shit kind of overpowered. But to be fair on the gun balance, all of that stuff can be changed, and Infinity Ward has expressed their interest in continuing to play around with the weapons, which is something that used to not be. If weapons were broke, they stayed broke. You know, be it for better or for worse, and you just had to deal with it. But these maps are here to stay. And they are going to continue to put remastered classic maps into the game. And I'm afraid that if they get the vacant treatment, they're going to be worse than they originally were. Shipment is... it's chaos, as Shipment always is, but the spawns are... I mean, they're shit in that. That's not fair. It's not fair to critique Shipment on its spawns, though, because those are always fucked. That map is chaos. You know going into it, it's chaos, because it's tiny. But the maps that are not supposed to be chaos end up being chaos because the spawns are fucked. There's campers that watch the spawns. Hope that makes sense. But I'm going to tell you now for the grand finale why all of that is largely irrelevant. That is because Infinity Ward has also expressed an interest in the dreaded, the hated skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking, in case you aren't aware, is a built-in system that is designed to place players of similar skill against one another. That means if you're really good at the game, you face other people that are typically really good at the game, and if you're bad, you will typically face other people that are bad. This is proven. They have filed patents that show all this. I encourage you to look into it. It's actually a rather fascinating topic. Because the community, at least to me, I don't think this is the case of a vocal minority, although Infinity Ward insists that it is. But it seems to me that almost everyone is disgusted by the inclusion of skill-based matchmaking into the game, because Call of Duty at its core was an arcade shooter, and I feel like that when many people casual arcade shooter, and I feel that when many people, including you who's watching this video, look for reviews or information on these games ahead of time, that's what we're seeking to reaffirm, to make sure that this new edition of Call of Duty is just like our favorite, the favorite that we had as a kid growing up. Like I said, for me it was Modern Warfare 2, whatever it was for you, be you older or younger. We want it to be fun. We want to be able to have those games where we go 30-1 or 30-2, and you know, we're running around, we're getting AC-130, clapping them up, chopper gunners and stuff. And sadly, those games are fewer and farther between than ever, unless you're willing to camp on their shitty maps, which we've already discussed. It feels like you are how do I put this? Feels like you're strong armed into a certain playstyle, because that's the playstyle that is most rewarded. And of course, you want to win the most often, and you want to get kill streaks the most often. And because kill streaks, or the rewards in this game, as I mentioned, are solely based off of getting kills, the rewards, the concept of getting these amazing rewards, is a lot more appealing to others than actually winning the game. Once again, Chase, I love you, brother, but you know this is describing you. You've admitted as much. The excuse me. The community is the word I was looking for, as a whole, seems to, from my experience, prefer getting these rewards and doing well personally. Doing well meaning getting a lot of kills and dying very little, over actually winning the game, which is frustrating for a player like me, because I don't know if these clips accurately demonstrate it. I like to think that I play the objective. I like to play a lot of objective-based modes, and I like to win a lot. I would rather win the game than do well personally, and I think I'm in the minority on that one. I remember days, most people do, especially if you're watching this type of video, where you could do both, where you could do really well personally and just raffle stomp somebody that has no idea what's going on. You know, and those days are behind us, sadly, because of the skill-based matchmaking. We can speculate as to the reasons why such a system was included. I have my own ideas, not that they matter. It's here to stay. If you want to come into this game, you have to be a lot better than I am to thrive. You would have to be, I don't know, Call of Duty God. Not that good games are impossible to find, especially in, and I wanted to touch on this too, because we talked about map design. They have a game mode called Ground War, which is returning from older Call of Duties. And Ground War is actually unique into this game, as in they've turned it into like a Battlefield Light, where you have a squad that you can spawn on, like in Battlefield. You have tanks that your team can get, like in Battlefield. And there are objectives, a lot like Conquest, scattered throughout a very large map, like Battlefield. And that the teams are much larger, like in Battlefield. I think it's 32v32, like in Battlefield. And they have their own special maps. And these special maps have their own problems, and I wanted to mention this, because Ground War has been what I've sunk the most time into this game by far. It's my favorite game mode. I either play Ground War or Hardcore game types, like what you're seeing here. My clip's actually stopped here. Shit'll be like a good book. We'll rewatch it here and see if we can see something we ain't seen before. I had more I wanted to discuss than what I even had for footage here. Not if you've watched it this far, you give a fuck about the footage anyway. But that's we're gonna reset it here. The ground war maps are plagued, and I do mean plagued, by unnecessary space. And for some, this will be a positive. And if you're one of them, well, I hope you enjoy it. But it's killing me. These massive maps are fun. I have less skill-based matchmaking because it's so many players to fill. How are you going to find 64 players close to each other with all the same skill set or whatever? It's a much larger game to fill. So the skill-based matchmaking is a lot more lax in it. Plus, it has crossplay forcefully enabled, where you can play with Xbox and PC players, which can be cool. But these maps are plagued by a very special problem. Whereas in the normal maps, it does have some maps, a lot of unnecessary space, I'd say, that caters to campers. The ground war maps are the worst of them all. Because on maps like Karst River Quarry, Divorce District, there are a lot of spaces that are really hard to get to, where snipers, which they're as good as they've ever been, people, I hate to say it, quick scoping is not a big deal in this game because all the lines of sight are so big that you don't have to quick scope. You can actually just sit and snipe from afar. There are open spaces on all these ground war maps. On Port, which is a ground war map that they've added recently, there are the cranes, the giant cranes on the side that people can climb ladders up on and camp. Tall buildings. They've added helicopters in this ground war mode, like Battlefield, that players use not to get close to an objective for an advantage. They are used solely by players to get to high rooftops that you can't otherwise get to sit and camp on and get kill streaks. And it's so frustrating to die to them over and over again. On Karst River Quarry, there's a giant, it's in a quarry, so there's a giant road off to the side of the map. There are no objectives up there. None. But snipers, and also sadly, people take the tanks and sit up there and just get kills over and over and over again. They don't play the objective at all. The map is designed specifically to cater to them. It's impossible to flank them because in Karst River Quarry, for example, there are a bunch of buildings in the middle of the map, and when you sit on top of the buildings in the middle, you get sniped from people sitting up on the quarry road on the side of the map. And when you go up to kill the players that are on the side of the map sniping, you get sniped from people sitting on the middle buildings. It's just a no-win situation. There's so many angles that you can't account for, and so many people willing to snipe that it's totally ruins the experience. You can't go out in the open, which is the same thing for core. Moving around is punished so heavily in this game. It just feels so much slower overall as a Call of Duty. As for how I feel about all of this, to conclude, it's a love and hate relationship for me right now. I said I would never play Call of Duty again, probably, that the series was dead to me, that I'd never take it seriously again. And then I started smoking the hopium 2 years ago. Call of Duty World War II. My old buddy Chase, once again, he talked me into it. He said, but it's boots on the ground. You don't understand. It's boots on the ground. No more jump shit. You hate it. I hate it too. I can't stand it. That's why I didn't play Black Ops 3. That just killed it. He said he didn't like futuristic settings anyway. I don't mind it as much. I love Black Ops 2. But it's a return right? And if you remember, that's how Sledgehammer Games marketed that game, as a return to glory, right? It's a return to what you love. It is boots on the ground, traditional, classic arcade shooter, uh, Call of Duty. Okay, that game was a disappointment for me. I've actually played it recently, and it's a lot more fun now because Sledgehammer were willing to adjust their game and fix the flaws, which I'm not certain that the Infinity Ward team is willing to do, and I will explain that here briefly because this shit's already been going for 25 minutes now. I'll probably asleep, but speaking of falling asleep, I forgot my point. I'll have to leave this in. This is good. In case you had any doubts on if I was a blithering idiot, I just went ahead and proved it for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Uh, oh yes, but I remember what I was saying now. I was smoking the hopium. Once again, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Of course, they picked that name very deliberately. They wanted it to be a return to what people loved about Call of Duty. And for me, this does not have a lot of what I loved about Call of Duty, but it can be fun in its own way, different way. If I play a very deliberate way, if I don't care, if I don't try, uh, which that's something you gotta factor into, people. Uh, if if you're the type to get easily agitated uh, and are get very frustrated with games, I can't recommend this to you at all. I'll just go ahead and tell you that now, because this game will get on every last nerve you have with dying, and this the hardcore gameplay that's been in the background is not exactly indicative of the actual game, because this is a game where you already die quickly, as you can see in all this gameplay. It's if you shoot first, they pretty much instantly die, and then you instantly die because somebody else has already seen you and you can't turn. It's hardcore is fun in its own different way. This caters to a very niche audience of people. I don't even think hardcore was in this game that came out. There's not very many people that play it. Most of the people that do are very high level, very, very, and this is going to sound like I'm insulting them. I'm not. It's a very no life game mode where the people that are playing this shit have a lot of time played. Uh, they are not casual Call of Duty players. Not that, once again, skill based matchmaking comes into play here. If you're not a quote unquote casual player that's not very good, that plays for maybe a half hour every few days, you know, you probably ain't going to be searching out this game mode, I imagine. Not that it matters. So, but I needed gameplay for the background. I thought it'd make it better. But I got talked into getting this one. I wanted something that I could play with my friends, and this game is good enough that if you're not agitated, if you're not easily agitated, that is, if you don't get frustrated a lot, this game can be a lot of fun, especially if you have people to play with, and you're joking and you're not even focusing on the game, you're not paying attention. It's very easy to, if you're in the right mindset, to just be playing a game. So, to conclude, if you're not all that, I can't recommend this game to you, because the skill-based matchmaking makes this game impossible to care and enjoy it. But if you can casually lose your mind a little bit, this game is good enough for that. I'll put it that way. And that's what Call of Duty. That's what Call of Duty should have been. And that's largely what this game is. So I will congratulate Infinity Ward on that. Uh, I wish, as I said, I'll touch on this briefly here at the end. I wish that this could have been a game for both audiences, and I think they wanted it to be, but ultimately it has failed due to reasons I've explained: maps, skill-based matchmaking, etc. Since the introduction of Season 1, because everything has to be in seasons now, and everything has to have Battle Pass, everything has to have fucking packs and bundles, uh, it was apparent to me right away as soon as they introduced all of the microtransaction stuff that a very large focus was given to the uh, cosmetics and stuff like that in this game, the extra stuff, uh, the customization. And it bothers me because every game I play, there are so many people that have all these skins that cost 10, 15, $20, whatever. Some of them bought multiple packs. They bought the $10 battle pass. They're buying tier skips, they're doing all that. They're supporting this game and making it a major financial success. And I'm afraid that instead of addressing all of the problems that I explained in this video that many people agree with, that from a financial standpoint they will look at, well, it can't be that bad because we have all these people spending all this money on our game. And I'm afraid that that's what it's going to ultimately turn out to be. So if you're looking for your next FPS game that you want to sink months, perhaps the next couple of years of your free time into, you need to keep that in mind before you buy this game. I get so frustrated at the thought of it. But I feel like if you're thinking about buying this game, that's something that you need to consider. Rainbow Six, which has been my FPS game of the last 2 years that I've played pretty regularly. Level 181 in that game. And that's pretty high. I feel like the core gameplay is strong in that game, and it only gets stronger. And I can count based off of the track record, regardless of how well the cosmetics that they sell do or do not do, that they are actively going to keep trying to improve the game, and if they fuck up, they'll revert it. I do not have the same faith in Infinity Ward, despite my love for Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, that they will actually try and address any of these problems, because they're not transparent. If you are just buying a game to buy a game, and you make, fucking boatloads of money, whatever, hey, big ups. Send some of it my way, please. And you don't give a fuck, or you can return it, or, give it to a relative or a friend or whatever if you don't like it. Modern Warfare will be fun for a few sessions, at least. I can guarantee you that. It's that good of a game. All the mechanical stuff that was wrong with the game has been ironed out. I will say that about Infinity Ward. The actual game breaking glitches and issues have been addressed. Challenges not tracking, Uh, crashing. Crashing was a big issue on the PS4. Making parties on the PS4 was an issue for quite a while. Uh, all of that has been addressed. The other stuff is more complicated issues that I have in long form explained in this video that I don't feel like they're going to address. I feel like they've already reached the spot that they need to be at, and for me that's troubling because I feel like there's so much more here. That's the major theme of Modern Warfare here, is that uh, there's a lot of bright spots and a lot of potential, but the dark spots really bring it down for somebody that wants to seriously play this game. And with that, go ahead and we'll pause this here. I feel like I've said all I need to say. So, 36 minutes later, you have your review. I'm sorry if I lost my train of thought or rambled. That's the Red Devil way around here. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was informative. I hope that me saying all this has helped you to decide one way or another if you want this game. It'd mean a lot to me if it did. That's the point of the video. And Gabe, thank you for listening to all this, brother. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope everybody had happy holidays, and I hope everybody has a happy new year. Thank you for watching, everybody. Take care.